My family, who is extremely homophobic, ended up kicking me out and replacing me with my best friend. My family is absolutely awful when it comes to topics about the LGBTQ+ community. Literally any mention of it and they get extremely upset, which sounds like they're suppressing something to me, but I had a friend that we can call Katie and my family absolutely adored her. Every Christmas they would buy her presents. She would spend family movie night with us and they honestly treated her like she was the favorite daughter. So one day I made the decision to come out and I decided to talk to Katie about it. She was literally so supportive and so respectful that I gained the confidence to talk to my family about it. Bad idea. Health striked and they immediately kicked me out of the house. So I found myself on a schedule of switching from couch to couch at different friends' houses. One particular night that was really hard for me, I decided to go visit them. I was missing them and also hopeful that they might accept me back in. And as I approached the house, my best friend was over there. She was playing games and doing family movie night with them, and so I decided to knock on the door. I burst into tears and went off on all of them. The absolute audacity. Later, my best friend texted me saying that she had a secret. Follow my Insta. Part 2 to my homophobic family kicking me out of the house and replacing me with my best friend. So I cannot believe the audacity of my family literally replacing me with Katie. Not only was she just over there for movie night, but they had actually moved her into my room, the room that I was raised in. I felt so much fury that I had to walk around the neighborhood for a while just to calm down. But eventually I just started to walk back to the house that I was staying at. Once I got in, Katie messaged me. She apologized for being such a bad friend, but then she said she had a secret. And she came out to me as bisexual and begged me not to tell my family. She felt like my family was her own and she didn't want to get kicked out. I was so frustrated that she was keeping the same secret that I had in my house, but she's getting to actually stay at my house. It has been a full year now and she is still with them to this day. But thankfully, I'm now living with my boyfriend and his family has accepted me as bisexual. I am honestly so much happier and better off. If you guys have a story that you'd like to share, follow me and DM me on Instagram.
What would you do if someone said this to you? Once there was a girl in Korea who got in an elevator in the apartment building that she was living in when a stranger came in and told her something that was absolutely terrifying. This stranger came into the elevator with her and tried to make some small talk. He looked at the elevator buttons and said, "Oh, I see that you live on the 14th floor. I live on the 13th floor." She gave him a friendly response and even tried to flirt a little bit. She thought that he was attractive and wondered if they would get to know each other better. But things quickly took a horrifying turn. When the elevator arrived at the 13th floor, the man got off and said, "See you soon." But as the doors closed, he pulled out a knife from his jacket and with a terrifying smile said, "Upstairs." Then he ran towards the stairs. By this time, it was too late. The elevator doors were already closed. She tried to push as many buttons as possible, but it was of no use. She was stuck inside the elevator, unable to do anything, as the elevator made its way up to the 14th floor.
I will never, and I mean never, forget the time that we had a male sub in high school and a girl asked to go to the restroom and he said sure. So she grabbed something and he heard a wrapper and he was like, "Oh, if you're gonna eat candy, you can do it in here, but you have to share with everyone in the class." And she was like, "What?" And he was like, "Well, I heard the wrapper." And she whips out a tampon, shoves it in his face, and she goes, "You want to share?" "Oh, girl, savage."
This is why you should be careful who you marry. Once there was a man who hated his wife, so he came up with a horrifying plan. But he would never expect that she was one step ahead. He lied by saying he wanted to fix their marriage by taking her on a vacation to a hotel near the mountains. There they went to a long hiking trail near a cliff. His plan was to push her and claim it was an accident. But this went terribly wrong. As soon as they arrived near the cliff, his wife said something unexpected. "I know you hate me, but you have no idea how much I hate you." Then she revealed what she had done. Before leaving the hotel that morning, she wrote a note to the hotel manager saying she knew her husband was planning to push her off a cliff, and if anything happened, tell the police. Then she looked up at her husband and said, "Now there's no way you'll convince anyone this was an accident." Horrified, the husband said, "What accident?" But before he could finish, his wife jumped. By the time he went back to the hotel, the police were already waiting.
Some men are absolutely disgusting. Like, yuck, 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 yuck. Oh my God. So, I was just at the gym, being a baddie, trying to build a fatty bitch. And there's a guy working out next to me. And all of a sudden, a girl passes by and, he doesn't even look at her. Doesn't look at her face, just looks at her ass and, stares for a good 30 seconds. Like a weirdo. A straight 30 seconds. I understand peeking, 10 seconds, but 30 seconds just straight. And, there's nothing wrong with checking a girl out because some of these girls out here be fine. Like, they be making you break your neck just to look at them because they're bad bitches, so it's well deserved. But the problem is, this man had the audacity to look at his friend and be like, that's a hard sex. And then he started criticizing everything about this girl's body, even down to the fucking leggings she was wearing. Oh my God. But then, bitch, it got worse, because then I started noticing that they were following different girls around the gym while they were doing their workouts, and they were rating them and critiquing them as to why they wouldn't or would smash. Like, what the fuck? And in my head, I'm like, first of all, y'all are hardcores. I don't know why y'all talking when you look like the creepy uncles at the barbecue, bitch.
I had a crush on my brother's best friend. We're gonna call him Pedro. One day, my brother and Pedro had a plan to go to the beach together, and then Pedro invited me. And I was like, let me check if I have something to do. I don't. I'm going. I'm gonna go, Pedro. Don't worry. The night before, I was like, I need to look scandalous. Like, so scandalous. So I remember I wore this two-piece bathing suit. So long story short, the day came and we went to the beach. So we get to the water and immediately I go in. I wanted to show him, like, I'm a bra girl. Oh, this is the best part. So I'm coming out of the water and I'm trying to look like a baddie. Like, I'm trying to walk out all cute, like the hair is wet and everything. And I noticed Pedro was looking at my legs. So I was like, maybe he's trying to shoot his shot. So I went to go tell him something. And I was like, why do you keep looking at me? And he was like, look at your legs. I look at my legs. There's a whole ass piece of poop from the beach water.
Storytime about how my boyfriend gave me sleeping pills before his boys' night out. I had been dating my boyfriend for a year and we always had a pretty trusting relationship. One weekend, he was going to have a boys' night out with his friends and I was going to stay home. However, earlier in the day, we had gone into an argument about how he never checks his phone while he's out or replies to my text to check in. He said he shouldn't have to check in with me while he's out, and I disagreed because I just want to make sure that he's okay. Fast forward to later that night when he's getting ready, I told him that even though we're fighting, I still expect him to keep in touch with me. He agrees this time without putting up a fight and asks me if I want to have a drink with him before he goes. He makes us some cocktails and we drink them together while we wait for his friends to come pick him up. When his friends get there, he kisses me goodbye and leaves. Not even half an hour later, I'm knocked out cold. I remember waking up once just for a second to use the bathroom, but then knocking out again. In the morning when I woke up, he was asleep next to me and I was really confused as to why I slept so much when I wasn't even tired. When my boyfriend woke up, he mentioned how nice it was that I hadn't messaged him and how I must have slept through the night after those cocktails. This raised some red flags and I quickly questioned him about what was in the cocktails. At first, he called me crazy and told me that he didn't do anything to them. However, after about 20 minutes of Part 2, my boyfriend gave me sleeping pills before his boys' night out. After I accused my boyfriend of messing with the cocktails, he admitted to putting a couple Benadryl in my drink. This, mixed with the alcohol, is what made me extremely sleepy and caused me to knock out for the whole night. I was furious when he said it. He clearly didn't see a problem with it and even made a joke about how he should do it more often when he doesn't want me pestering him. I freaked out at him and told him that what he did was not only wrong, but could also be a crime. I think this scared him a bit because he quickly started apologizing and promising to never do it again. Obviously, I'm not stupid and I wasn't going to stay with someone who would do that to me. I quickly called my family, who came rushing over. I packed my things and my brothers kept my now ex in the other room and threatening him not to come around me. I got all my things together with my mom and my sister and left him that very day. He wouldn't stop blowing up my phone with apologies and sending sorry gifts to my work. I had to block his number and threaten him with a restraining order if he ever tried to talk to me again. I was horrified that someone would go to those lengths and I couldn't trust him after this. He even tried to get his family to text me to get back together with him, but when I told them why we broke up, they were shocked too. They apologized profusely on his
Hi everyone, please follow my channel and subscribe. I post tutorials, feminine contents and business ideas. Giveaway coming up soon once we hit 500 subscribers.
This is why when something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Once a newly married couple was searching for houses they could buy, and they came across a beautiful house with a suspiciously cheap price. They couldn't see anything wrong with the house, so they just thought they got lucky. They moved in quickly. But one day the husband was walking down the hallway when he found a red crayon on the floor. He thought maybe the previous residents had left it behind, so he just threw it out. The next day he found another red crayon lying in the exact same place. This time he asked his wife about it. His wife looked shocked. She confessed that every day since they've moved in, she's been finding red crayons in the hallway too. Then the husband tried to tap on the wall at the end of the hallway and heard a hollow sound. He began peeling off the wallpaper and found a sliding door behind it. It was as if someone had tried everything they could to keep anyone from finding this door. He tried to open it, but the door was nailed shut. Then he took a hammer and pried off the nails one by one. He opened the door to find a small room with words scribbled in red crayon all over the walls. It said, "Mommy, I'm sorry, let me out," over and over.
I'm going to say this one more time and louder for the men in the back, because I am stunned at how many men think having a job absolves you of household responsibilities. You think helping around the house is the equivalent of a second job and therefore unfair. But wait, I thought housework wasn't a job. I thought you said it was easy. And if you think all the things your wife does around the house are easy, then why would you complain for having to participate in them? You think going to work entitles you to a hot meal, clean clothes, and a tidy house. But somehow your working wife is never entitled to those same luxuries. She goes out and works hard just to come home and work harder. If your wife stays home, then she's lazy and does nothing. But if she goes to work, you still make her job out to be less labor intensive and therefore less valuable. You want all the benefits of masculinity without the responsibility. You sell yourself as providers, but then get mad when women expect you to provide. You want to be celebrated for getting up and going to work every day, but your wife never had a choice.
I got pulled over today, and the cop comes to my window and goes, license, registration, and proof of insurance. And I look at him, I say, officer, I don't have my license on me, I don't have my registration, I don't have any proof of insurance. So then the cop looks at me and goes, then why the hell were you speeding? I caught you going 90 and a 65. And I look at him and I say, officer, the reason I was speeding was because I just killed my girlfriend. I chopped her up and I put her in my trunk. So the cop backs off my window, says, listen, boy, wait right here. And he calls every cop in the area to come look at my car. So my car is now surrounded by cops, and the chief of police does a whole check. He checks my trunk, and all he finds is a backpack. So then he comes to my window. So the chief of police comes up to my window and says, listen, the officer who pulled you over said you had no driver's license, no proof of insurance, no registration, and that you just chopped up your girlfriend and put her in the trunk. But when I looked in the trunk, all I found was a backpack. I found nothing. And I look at the chief of police and I say, yeah, I know. This lying son of a bitch probably told you I'm speeding too, right?
Okay, story time. So I work at a jewelry store, and today a man came in looking for a gift for his wife for their 10th year anniversary. He ended up picking out a piece that said, my beautiful wife. And I said, anything else for you today? And he said, no, that's it for her, but I do want to make another purchase using a separate credit card. And could you possibly create a different account for me? And I said, sure, what are you looking for? And he said, do you have anything that says girlfriend? And I said, yes. And he said, perfect, I'll take it. And do you have anything that says happy 1 year anniversary to go with it? And I said, yes. And he said, perfect, I'll take it. So I boxed everything up all nice and I put them in their respected bags. He had me mark a K for Kristen on the bottom of his wife's bag and an L for Laura on the bottom of his girlfriend's bag. I put pretty bows on them. I handed it to him. I said, they're gonna love it. Have a nice day. And he said, thank you. And shit, I just remembered that his wife's name is Laura and his girlfriend's name is Kristen. I must have mixed up the bags. Oops.
It's what she finds in the kitchen that's really scary. In the early 90s, a young girl was sleeping in her mom's bed when she suddenly woke up for no reason. She looked at her door and she saw her very affectionate cat kind of meowing down the hall as if someone was coming up to pet it, but she was next to her mom and they were the only ones in the house. The girl shakes her mom awake and points to the cat just as a man is walking past the door and disappears into the room across the hall. Before the man could come back out and find them, they both jump out the window, run across the street, and call the police. When the police arrive, the guy is nowhere to be found, but they do discover that the front door was unlocked, so that had to be the way he got in and out. But the mother swears up and down that she locked that door before she went to bed. A week later, the mother's cleaning their kitchen and she opens up the water heater closet where she finds this notebook that inside is their names and pictures of them in it, along with a pair of surgical gloves. Which means someone had snuck in at some point, was living in that closet spying on them, and then walking around their house at night.
I left my brother because he was broke. Story time. I mean so broke that every single time we went on any kind of date, I had to pick up the bill. When we first got together, he was super poor and living with his mom, but I saw past that because we were two struggling college students. He always reassured me that he'd soon be on his feet and be able to take care of me the way that he wanted to. But year after year after year, he kept reassuring me and apologizing that he couldn't, until I just finally realized that it was just simply never going to happen. Then when I landed my dream job and I started getting promotions and living my best financial life, he started to get jealous of me. He started to say stuff, why don't you take me out for a change? You know, I'm tired of this rule that men have to pay for everything. You're the one with all the money, why don't you provide for me and take care of me? So I started to get fed up because I felt like the man in the relationship. So I started to vent to one of the corporate guys that I work with, and we really started to connect with each other. So I got fed up with him and broke up with him and started to date the corporate guy that I work with. I tried to go change my banking information due to the fact that my ex-boyfriend knew everything, and everything in my bank account was gone.
So when I turned 13, I had a birthday party. It's no big deal. I mean, you know, I was just blossoming, turning into a woman. And so I remember my mom was like, no one's allowed in the rooms. Everyone needs to be outside. If you see anyone inside, you need to tell me. I was like, oh my God, Booma, you don't need to pop off. I get it, Booma, come on. I remember I saw 3 adults walk out of my room. I didn't tell my mom, but let me tell you why. Because I was like, maybe they're designing a gift for me. So the end of the day came, no surprise present came.
I'm not mad. Are you mad? Because I'm happy. So we started cleaning up, and then we went to go clean my room in case. Oh, the best part is coming! There was a voodoo doll under my bed. You know, it looked exactly like me. I remember there was one needle on its left eye, another needle on its heart, and it was laying on like a ratchet green leaf. And then next to it, there was a note that said, "This is all gonna be mine," in cursive. So then my mom started doing research on this.
This is why you should always keep your head on a swivel. In 2017, an elderly woman who lived alone thought she saw something moving in her backyard and went to the window to have a look. As she's looking around, a shadowy figure emerges right on the other side of the glass, standing in her backyard. Terrified, she keeps an eye on the figure while calling police, but by the time she hangs up, the figure's gone. When the police arrive, her front door is unlocked, so they go inside and they find her still sitting in front of the window looking for this figure. The police search the backyard, but they don't find anything. When the police go back inside to search the house, they quickly find some large footprints that couldn't have been hers in the room that she was sitting in and all around the first floor. That's when they realized what was going on. She wasn't seeing a shadowy figure in her backyard. She was seeing the reflection of someone in the room with her.
My mom got pregnant many years ago after she married my dad, and they were both overjoyed to have a daughter. After my birth, they were waiting anxiously for me when the nurse walked in, looking nervous. I'm not sure if you want to see her.
Oh my God. Is she ugly? I'm going to have a heart attack if she's ugly.
I think she's a dwarf. Mom leapt forward and took me from the nurse, and Dad stared at me in horror. I was really tiny and ugly, like a frog.
I'll have you fired, you moron. I don't care what my daughter looks like. She's mine, and she's beautiful. So what if she's a bit small?
But as years went by and my progress was monitored by doctors, I was diagnosed with slower growth than most people, which meant I'd always look younger than I actually am. Mom didn't care, as long as I was healthy. But Dad